Personally, quotes for me, they always provide a bit of inspiration, especially when trying to write an essay. Like you want to get a background of who you're writing about, and Margaret Atwood's quote was quite interesting and I thought it valid to the assessment. That's why I included it. Her quote goes as following: "You're never going to kill storytelling because it's built into the human plan we come with." Here's some inspiration from Shakespeare, our famous playwright.
To be or not to be.
Will we ever know? ... Margaret Atwood successfully reimagines the link between theatre and real life through appropriation, while also achieving a dynamic interplay between her novel Hagseed and The Tempest by William Shakespeare. She consciously employs Shakespeare's concept of all the world's a stage into her novel and addresses thematic concerns such as female agency through creating a new Miranda who determines and motivates the whole action of the text. Inequalities between men and women can be recognised as the most persistent patterns in the distribution of power. Atwood believes that the past is powerfully present, especially when discussing the autonomy of women within society. The portrayal of femininity can be recognised through language, behaviour and sexuality. Shakespeare's context exposes humanity's flaws, and The Tempest continues to accurately portray the disadvantaged circumstances and gender roles for women during his lifetime. Women were to be innocent, pure and subordinate towards men. Miranda's virginity and her hand in marriage both serve as a commodity for Prospero at his own convenience. Prospero quite literally speaks about her to Ferdinand as if she was an object. "That is my gift and thine own acquisition, worthily purchased. Take my daughter." The metaphor of being a prized possession objectifies her as his property and assigns a certain value to her. Unfortunately, in Shakespeare's time, this sort of behaviour was the social norm. Another example of women being objectified is when Ferdinand and Miranda declare their love for each other. Miranda uses a metaphor which indicates her full knowledge of the cultural and ideological worth of her sexual purity. "The jewel in my dower, I wish not any companion in the world but you." The metaphors of wealth, jewel and dower that signal Miranda's modesty imply that her virginity has monetary wealth. Performance is used within both The Tempest and Hagseed to convey key social ideas, notably womanhood. Atwood successfully challenges the value of male agency through her recreation of The Tempest. Being a feminist herself, it can be assumed that she motivated to prove how gender roles and stereotypes have developed and changed in modern context. Shakespeare portrays Miranda as a girl who follows the path designed for her by Prospero. However, through appropriating The Tempest, Atwood reconstructs Anne-Marie not to be a receiver of patriarchal power, but instead a motivator of action. Her decision to have both reality and a performance with her novel creates opportunity for characters to reflect their 21st century context in light of their readings of The Tempest. When assigning roles for the play, Felix deeply consults who will play each character. Regarding Miranda, he believes that she is a girl. Any man playing her would lose status in a disastrous way. Felix uses condescending language, and his first-person internal monologue represents his internalized misogyny. The use of short sentences also reflect how it is seen as a fact. Atwood, however, uses Anne-Marie to fight back against the belief of weakness in women. His feelings were hurt more than anything. Once he stopped riding around on the floor and got up, creates humour through a laissez-faire tone, and represents gender reversal as Anne-Marie attacks 8-Hands' feelings. The truncated sentences also reveal a sense of coldness. Another example of Atwood challenging the traditional views of Shakespeare and expressing the development of women's rights over the hundreds of years includes: first off, she's a strong girl. With one high kick, she breaks Sebastian's wrist, dislocated both of his scaly Caliban arms. The short sentence, accompanied by high modal language, illustrates Anne-Marie's confident reimagining of Miranda's post-play life. The violent imagery of breaks and dislocated creates an aggressive and ambitious Miranda with agency, completely antithetical to a desirable Renaissance woman. The textual conversation between Shakespeare and Atwood invokes the motif of performance to explore the connection of theatre and life. Theatre can be linked to reality given its basis on the lives of human beings, especially the disempowerment of women. Reconciliation between men and women can be a difficult process, especially due to the patriarchal nature of Shakespeare's society. The establishment of Prospero as a godlike figure within The Tempest reflects the power of patriarchal figures within the Elizabethan era. There was a time where women remained submissive but also protected by the patriarch, which wasn't necessarily a good thing. Prospero threatens Caliban and states, "I'll rack thee with old cramps, fill all thy bones with aches, make thee raw." The tripartite violent imagery innates masculine power. There is also the repetition of thee imposing himself. This power fueled by magic reflects the omnipotent aspect of Prospero as reinforced by the Theatrum Mundi framework, which spotlights the facade of theatre and Prospero's humanity within an ephemeral performance. The centrality of the motif of performance is exhibited through the use of Theatrum Mundi, a style of meta-theatre within The Tempest and Hag's Seat. The impact of Theatrum Mundi within the two texts is that it reinforces the impermanence of life, creating a metaphorical connection between the theatre and life, spotlights our own imminent mortality and the impermanence of life, given the fleeting nature of theatre. Act 4, Scene 1, Prospero commands Ariel to conjure up spirits. He states, "These are our actors, and like the basic fabric of this vision, the great globe, we are such stuff as dreams are made on." The motif of performance materializes the impermanence of life through the Theatrum Mundi metaphorical technique. Performance is reiterated through the diction of actors, as well as a reference to the great globe, a theatre in which Shakespeare's plays were performed. Furthermore, the use of the simile in comparing our actions to the dream state embeds the informality of life. Intertextuality reinforces the role of Prospero as God and is enhanced by the dictation of performance, reinforcing the thematic concern. It can be seen in the line, "Woe to Ariel, thou shalt be visited of the Lord hosts with storm and tempest." Prospero continues to question Ariel, "Hast thou thy spirit performed to point the tempest that I bade thee?" This is quite an accusing question of which Shakespeare has used harsh consonants as a sound device. The use of the personal pronouns represent the authority of which he holds, reinforcing the stark power difference between Ariel and Prospero, reflecting his omnipotent power. The Tempest and Hag's Seat strongly invoke performance as a central thematic concern as a vehicle for social change. Atwood's reimagining of The Tempest also invokes the motif of performance through metatheatre and Theatrum Mundi as a philosophical reflection of life and power. Further, the motif of performance reinforces ideas of impermanence of life. Through the characterization of Felix as the director, it is revealed to the audience that Prospero is the godlike figure within the play. The beginning of the production, the stimulus states, "On the big flat screen, jagged yellow lettering on black." The use of the stage direction reinforces the role of Felix as the director, and the eerie imagery created through the jagged lettering forbids the instability of Felix, as expressed externally throughout the production. This stage direction highlights Felix's ability to control the audience and therefore be a godlike figure, just like Prospero. Hag's Seed therefore allows the audience to realise the concept of Theatre Mundi through the reimagining of Prospero as a director, or god, within the Theatre Mundi framework. The post-play assignment, a possible due performance within Hag's Seed, prompts audiences to revisit The Tempest to find the assertive Miranda hidden within Shakespeare's Brechtian theatre technique. You're all talking as if Miranda is a rag doll, with a sign on her saying "Rape me," addresses the second person, profoundly revealing the audience containment of Miranda within Elizabethan attitudes, which is further enforced by the mocking tone created through the comparison of the ragdoll simile and the violent imagery of the idolised "raped me." Finally, the performance of The Tempest empowered Anne-Marie to discover the progressiveness of Shakespeare and addresses the complexity of contextual impact upon audience and playwright. Atwood uses the postmodern technique of intertextuality and this motif of dreams within Hag's Seed to further expose the impermanence of life, as it is all a performance. This motif is recontextualised through the nursery rhyme heard by 8 hands. I think I'm picking up a radio station or something. It's like singing, "It's merrily, 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 life is but a dream." The ephemeral nature of dreams, here an intertextual reference to The Tempest, reinforces the impermanence of life. The use of the nursery rhyme reflects innocence and childhood as transient experiences. Further, Felix believes the scene to be a reference to Miranda. Within Hag's Seed, Miranda reflects the mortality and impermanence of life due to her death at 3 years old. The impermanence of life is explored through the motif of performance as a metaphor for life, and that like a performance, our lives will come to an end. Social texts are not created purely from earlier literal works. They are also weaved from real experiences and provide the reader with a plot, a matrix of meanings, and various types of characters. Margaret Atwood believes, "I live in the society. I also put the society inside my books so that you can get a box within a box effect." Atwood has not necessarily recreated the values of Shakespearean time, especially the disempowerment of women, but they have motivated her to write. However, she has definitely continued the concept of a man's life being no more than a brief appearance on a stage, and the audience can successfully recognise how composers are influenced by the meaning of other texts.